One of the stories that comes up throughout your book is you making history yourself when you, as an incoming student, integrated the University of Georgia in January of 1961. Many white students were angry. It wasn't easy for you rather. Some of the white students rioted. Tell us what happened to you.
What happened to me?
Yeah.
Well, actually, nothing really happened to me. I was in my room when the students rioted outside my dorm and threw rocks through the window. And of course, in those days, young Black girls like me who were brought up in the church, and as well as those who were demonstrating in Atlanta to bring down segregation, we always wore our best clothes. And so the first thing I thought about when that brick came through my window and spattered all over my suitcase full of clothes, which I hadn't had time to unpack because I'd only been on the campus a couple of days, I thought, oh my goodness, my clothes. But subsequently, the dean came and said that I was being suspended for my own safety. Now, of course, one of the things that had enraged the rioters was that they had lost a very hotly contested basketball game with their arch rival, Georgia Tech. So that made a lot of the students even angrier. And for some reason, I've never found out what happened, but it took a good while for the police to come and spray tear gas and get rid of the rioters. But then there came a time when the dean came to say that I was being suspended, quote unquote, for my own safety. And Hamilton Holmes, who was the other Black student with me, and we desegregated, we didn't quite integrate. That took many years. But when we got to Hamilton's house and told him what had happened, he wanted to drive back to Atlanta because that's where they were taking us back home. That's 70 some miles through some horrific Ku Klux Klan territory. And I just lost my cool. I mean, I'm normally kind of cool, but I lost it that night. And it was so embarrassing to him that he said, okay, we'll go. I'll go with you. And so we get to Atlanta, and the next day there were journalists coming to ask, how scary it was. And I said, I wasn't afraid. And I had never thought about, until that moment and that question about being afraid, why I was so calm and not afraid. And it takes me back to Florida, where my mother used to send me every summer to get some of that old time religion from my grandfather and grandmother. He was a presiding elder in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. They're all buried in Tampa, by the way. But my grandmother was the saint. And she was the one who taught me the Bible verse, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And when the journalist asked me that next day, it occurred to me that is how I got through that very challenging night. From the history, from the Bible, from my grandmother. And that's what got me through a lot. Black history that is so important, not just for people who look like me, but all kinds of people. All of our people need our history because it's useful in so many ways. It creates what I call armor that helps protect us when we get challenged.
Did you and Hamilton Holmes think you were making history when you did this, when you entered the UGA?
We didn't think about that. In fact, there were some activist Black men who came to our high school and said that it had been long enough. This was 1959, and the U.S. Supreme Court decision, Brown versus Board, was handed down in 1954. And so they wanted to test it because it hadn't been tested in Georgia. So they took us to a white college downtown. And Hamilton and I actually, we were so well prepared in our, even in our segregated schools, which lacked a lot of the things that the white schools had, but we were mentally prepared. And so when we looked at those curriculum, the curriculum, both Hamilton and I didn't think that it met the qualifications we needed to he become a journalist and he become a doctor and me become a journalist. So then Hamilton, I have to give him credit, walked out onto the deck of Georgia State College, pointed north and said, I want to go there. And everybody knew, and I knew, he meant University of Georgia, and I wasn't going to let him get ahead of me. So I said, yeah, me too. And that's how it started. And the men didn't have any way of protecting us if there were challenges, but here were two young Black students willing to take this chance and make this effort, and they had to support us, and they did, and it all worked out in the end, as you know.